Part 10 of the Matchless Orinda. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Elizabeth Klett. Poems by the most deservedly admired Mrs. Katherine Phillips, the Matchless Orinda. Part 10. Poems 91 to 104. 91. Upon the graving of her name upon a tree in Barn Elm's walks. Alas! how barbarous are we, thus to reward the courteous tree, who its broad shade affording us, deserves not to be wounded thus. See how the yielding bark complies with our ungrateful injuries, and seeing this, say how much then trees are more generous than men, who by a nobleness so pure can first oblige and then endure. 92. To my dearest friend Mrs. A. Owen, upon her greatest loss. As when two sister rivulets, who crept from that dark bed of snow wherein they slept, by private distant currents underground, have by meanders either's bosom found, they sob aloud, and break down what withstood, swollen by their own embraces to a flood. So when my sympathy for thy dear grief had brought me near, in hope to give relief, I found my sorrow heightened when so joined, and thine increased by being so combined. Since to the bleeding hopes of many years I could contribute nothing but my tears. Fears which to thy sad fate were justly due, and to his loss by all who that loss knew. For thy Charistus was so much above the eloquence of all our grief and love, that it would be injurious to his hearse to think to crowd his worth into a verse. Could I by miracle such praise indite, who with more ease and justice weep than write, he was all that which history can boast, or bolder poetry had e'er engrossed. So pious, just, noble, discreet, and kind, their best ideas know not how to find. His strong religion not on trifles spent, was useful, firm, early, and eminent, never betrayed to indigested heat, nor yet enticed from what was safely great. And this so soon, as if he had foresight, he must begin betimes whose noon is night. His virtue was his choice, and not his chance, not moved by age, nor born of ignorance. He well knew whom and what he did believe, and for his faith did not dispute but live, and lived just like his infant innocence, but that was crowned with free obedience. How did he scorn design, and equally how much abhorred this age's vanity! He neither liked its tumults nor its joys, slighted alike earth's pleasures and her noise, but unconcerned in both, in his own mind, alone could power and satisfaction find. A treasury of merit there lay hid, which though he ne'er confessed, his actions did. His modesty unto his virtue lent at once a shadow and an ornament. But what could hide those filial rites he paid? How much he loved, how prudently obeyed? How as a brother did he justly share his kind concern betwixt respect and care? And to a wife how fully did he prove how wisely he could judge, how fondly love? As husbands serious, but as lovers kind, he valued all of her, but loved her mind. And with a passion made this riddle true, 'twas ever perfect, and yet still it grew. Such handsome thoughts his breast did ever fill, he durst do anything but what was ill. Unlike those gallants who so use their time as opportunity to act their crime, and lost in wine or vanity when young, they die too soon because they lived too long. But he has hallowed so his early death, 'tis almost shame to draw a longer breath. I can no more. They that can must have learned to be more eloquent and less concerned. But all that noble justice to his name his own good angel will commit to fame. Could grief recall this happiness again, of thy dear sorrow I would ne'er complain, but such an opportunity would take to grieve an useless life out for thy sake. But since it cannot, I must pray thee live, that so much of Charistus must survive, and that thou do not act so harsh to love, as that his glory should thy sorrow move. Endure thy loss till heaven shall it repay, upon thy last and glorious wedding day, when thou shalt know him more, and quickly find the love increased by being so refined, and there possess him without parting fears, as I my friendship free from future tears. 93. Orinda to Lucasia, parting, October 1661, at London. Adieu, dear object of my love's excess, and with thee all my hopes of happiness, with the same fervent and unchanged heart which did its whole self once to thee impart, and which, though fortune has so sorely bruised, would suffer more to be from this excused. I to resign thy dear converse submit, since I can neither keep nor merit it. Thou hast too long to me confined been, who ruin am without, passion within. My mind is sunk below thy tenderness, and my condition does deserve it less. I'm so entangled and so lost a thing by all the shocks my daily sorrows bring, that wouldst thou for thy old Orinda call, thou hardly couldst unravel her at all. And should I thy clear fortunes interline with the incessant miseries of mine? No, no, I never loved at such a rate, to tie thee to the rigours of my fate. As from my obligations thou art free, sure thou shalt be so from my injury. Though every other worthiness I miss, yet I'll at least be generous in this. I'd rather perish without sigh or groan, than thou shouldst be condemned to give me one. Nay, in my soul I rather could allow friendship should be a sufferer than thou. Go then, since my sad heart has set thee free, let all the loads and chains remain on me. Though I be left the prey of sea and wind, thou, being happy, wilt in that be kind. Nor shall I my undoing much deplore, since thou art safe, whom I must value more. Oh, mayest thou ever be so, and as free from all ills else as from my company, and may the torments thou hast had from it be all that heaven will to thy life permit, and that they may thy virtue service do, mayst thou be able to forgive them too. But though I must this sharp submission learn, I cannot yet unwish thy dear concern. Not one new comfort I expect to see, I quit my joy, hope, life, and all but thee. Nor seek I thence aught that may discompose that mind where so serene a goodness grows. I ask no inconvenient kindness now, to move thy passion or to cloud thy brow, and thou wilt satisfy my boldest plea by some few soft remembrances of me, which may present thee with this candid thought, I meant not all the troubles that I brought. Own not what passion rules and fate does crush, but wish thou couldst have done't without a blush, and that I had been, ere it was too late, either more worthy or more fortunate. Ah, who can love the thing they cannot prize? But thou mayst pity, though thou dost despise. Yet I should think that pity bought too dear, if it should cost those precious eyes a tear. Oh, may no minute's trouble thee possess, but to endear the next hour's happiness. And mayst thou, when thou art from me removed, be better pleased, but never worse beloved. Oh, pardon me, for pouring out my woes in rhyme now, that I dare not do't in prose. For I must lose whatever is called dear, and thy assistance all that loss to bear, and have more cause than e'er I had before, to fear that I shall never see thee more. 94. On the 1st of January, 1657. Th' eternal centre of my life and me, who when I was not gave me room to be, hath since, my time preserving in his hands, by moments numbered out the precious sands, yet it is swelled to 26 years, chequered by Providence with smiles and tears. I have observed how vain all glories are, the change of empire and the chance of war, seen faction with its native venom burst, and treason struck by what itself had nursed, seen useless crimes whose owners but made way for future candidates to wear the bay. 95. To my Lady M. Cavendish, choosing the name of Polycrite. That nature in your frame has taken care, as well your birth as beauty do declare, since we at once discover in your face the lustre of your eyes and of your race, and that your shape and fashion does attest, so bright a form has yet a brighter guest. to future times authentic fame shall bring, historians shall relate, and poets sing. But since your boundless mind upon my head some rays of splendour is content to shed, and lest I suffer by the great surprise, since you submit to meet me in disguise, can lay aside what dazzles vulgar sight, and to Orinda can be Polycrite. You must endure my vows, and find the way to entertain such rites as I can pay, for so the power divine new praise acquires, by scorning nothing that it once inspires. I have no merits that your smile can win, nor offering to appease you when I sin. Nor can my useless homage hope to raise, when what I cannot serve I strive to praise. But I can love, and love at such a pitch, as I dare boast it will even you enrich. For kindness is a mine, when great and true, of nobler ore than ever Indians knew. 'Tis all that mortals can on heaven bestow, and all that heaven can value here below. 96. Against Love. Hence, Cupid, with your cheating toys, your real griefs and painted joys, your pleasure which itself destroys. Lovers like men in fevers burn and rave, and only what will injure them do crave. Men's weakness makes love so severe, that they give him power by their fear, and make the shackles which they wear. Who to another does his heart submit, makes his own idol, and then worships it. Him whose heart is all his own, peace and liberty does crown. He apprehends no killing frown. He feels no raptures which are joys diseased, and is not much transported, but still pleased. 97. A dialogue of friendship multiplied. Musidorus. Will you unto one single sense confine a starry influence, or when you do the rays combine, to themselves only make them shine? Love that's engrossed by one alone is envy, not affection. Orinda. No, Musidorus, this would be but friendship's prodigality. Union in rays does not confine, but doubles lustre when they shine, and souls united live above envy as much as scattered love. Friendship, like rivers, as it multiplies in many streams, grows weaker still and dies. Musidorus. Rivers indeed may lose their force, when they divide or break their course. For they may want some hidden spring, which to their streams recruits may bring. But friendship's made of purest fire, which burns and keeps its stock entire. Love, like the sun, may shed his beams on all, and grow more great by being general. Orinda. The purity of friendship's flame proves that from sympathy it came, and that the hearts so close do knit, they no third partner can admit. Love, like the sun, does all inspire, but burns most by contracted fire. Then though I honour every worthy guest, yet my Lucasia only rules my breast. 98. Rosania to Lucasia on her letters. Ah, strike outright, or else forbear, be more kind or more severe, for in this chequered mixture I cannot live and would not die, and must I neither? Tell me why. When thy pen thy kindness tells, my heart transported leaps and swells. But when my greedy eye does stray, thy threatened absence to survey, that heart is struck and faints away. To give me title to rich land, and the fruition to withstand, or solemnly to send the key of treasures I must never see, would it contempt or bounty be? This is such refined distress, that thy sad lovers sigh for less. Though thou their hopes hast overthrown, they lose but what they ne'er have known. But I am plundered from my own. How canst thou thy Rosania prize, and be so cruel and so wise? For if such rigid policy must thy resolves dispute with me, where then is friendship's victory? Kindness is of so brave a make, 'twill rather death than bondage take. So that if thine no power can have, give it and me one common grave, but quickly either kill or save. 99. To my Antenor, March 16th, 1661. My dear Antenor, now give o'er, for my sake talk of graves no more. Death is not in your power to gain, and is both wished and feared in vain. Let's be as angry as we will, grief sooner may distract than kill, and the unhappy often prove death is as coy a thing as love. those whose own sword their death did give, afraid were, or ashamed to live, and by an act so desperate did poorly run away from fate. 'Tis braver much t'outride the storm, endure its rage and shun his harm. Affliction nobly undergone more greatness shows than having none. But yet the wheel in turning round at last may lift us from the ground, and when our fortune's most severe, the less we have, the less we fear. And why should we that grief permit which can nor mend nor shorten it? Let's wait for a succeeding good. Woes have their ebb as well as flood, and since the Parliament have rescued you, believe that Providence will do so too. 100. A Triton to Lucasia going to sea, shortly after the Queen's arrival. My master Neptune took such pains of late to quiet the commotions of his state, that he might give, through his fierce winds and seas, safe passage to the royal Portuguese, that he ne'er since at home has kept, and in his crystal palace slept, till a swift wind told him to-day a stranger was to pass this way, whom he hath sent me out to view, and I must tell him, madam, it is you. He knows you by an honourable fame, who hath not heard Lucasia's worthy name? But should he see you too, I doubt he will grow amorous, and here detain you still. I know his humour very well, so best can the event foretell. But wishing you better success, and that my master's guilt be less, I will say nothing of your form, till you are past the danger of a storm. Fear nothing else, for eyes so sweet as these no power that is sea-born can displease. You are much more than nymph or goddess bright. I saw 'em all at supper t'other night. They with far less attraction draw. They give us love, you give us law. Your charms the winds and seas will move, but 'tis no wonder, not to love. Your only danger is, lest they, stiff with amazement, should becalm your way. But should they all want breath to make a gale, what sent in prayers for you will fill your sail? What brought you hither will your way secure, courage and kindness can no slip endure. The winds will do as much for you. Yet since our birth the English Ocean boasts, we hope sometimes to see you on these coasts, and we will order for you as you pass, winds soft as lovers' vows, waves smooth as glass. Each deity shall you befriend, and all the sea-nymphs shall attend. But if because a ship's too strait, or else unworthy such a freight, a coach more useful would appear, that and 6 Danish steeds you know are here. 101. Orinda upon little Hector Phillips. Twice 40 months of wedlock I did stay, then had my vows crowned with a lovely boy. And yet in 40 days he dropped away. O swift vicissitude of human joy! I did but see him, and he disappeared. I did but pluck the rosebud, and it fell. A sorrow unforeseen and scarcely feared, for ill can mortals their afflictions spell. And now, sweet babe, what can my trembling heart suggest to write my doleful fate or thee? Tears are my muse, and sorrow all my art. So piercing groans must be thy elegy. Thus, whilst no eye is witness of my moan, I grieve thy loss. Ah, boy, too dear to live! And let the unconcerned world alone, who neither will nor can refreshment give. An offering too for thy sad tomb I have, too just a tribute to thy early hearse. Receive these grasping numbers to thy grave, the last of thy unhappy mother's verse. 102. To the Lady E. Boyle. Ah, lovely Celimena! Why are you so full of charms, that neither sex can from them fly, nor take against them arms? Others in time may gain a part, but you at once snatch all the heart. Dear tyrant, why will you subdue Orinda's trivial heart, which can no triumph add to you, not meriting your dart? And sure you will not grant it won, if not for my sake, for your own. For it has been by tenderness already so much bruised, that at your altars I may guess it will but be refused. For never deity did prize a torn and maimed sacrifice. But oh, what madness can or dare dispute this noble chain, which 'tis a greater thing to wear than empires to obtain? To be your slave I more design, than to have all the world be mine. Those glorious fetters will create a merit fit for them, repair the breaches made by fate, and whom they own redeem. What thus ennobles and thus cures can be no influence but yours. Pardon the ambition of my aim, who love you at that rate, that story cannot boast a flame so lasting and so great. I can be only kind and true, but what else can be worthy you? 103. To my Lord Duke of Ormond, upon the late plot. Though you, great sir, be Heaven's immediate care, who showed you danger, and then broke the snare, and our first gratitude to that be due, yet there is much that must be paid to you. For 'tis your prudence Ireland's peace secures, gives her safety, and what's dearer, yours, whilst your prevailing genius does dispense at once its conduct and its influence. Less honour from a battle won is got, than to repel so dangerous a plot. Fortune with courage may play booty there, but single virtue is triumphant here. In vain the bold ungrateful rebels aim to overturn when you support the same. You who 3 potent kingdoms late have seen tremble with fury, and yet steadfast been. Who in afflicted majesty could wait, when it was seemingly forsook by fate. Whose settled loyalty no storms dismayed, nor the more flattering mischiefs could dissuade. And having 'scaped so dangerous a coast, could you now fall, expiring treason's boast? Or was it hoped by this contemned crew, that you could fortune, and not them, subdue? But whilst these wretches at this impious rate will buy the knowledge of your mighty fate, you shall preserve your King's entrusted crown, assisted by his fortune and your own. And whilst his sword kingdoms abroad bestows, you with the next renown shall this dispose. 104. To the Countess of Roscommon, with a copy of Pompey. Great Pompey's fame from Egypt made escape, and flies to you for succour in this shape. A shape which I assured him would appear nor fit for you to see nor him to wear. Yet he says, madam, he's resolved to come, and run a hazard of a second doom. But still he hopes to bribe you, by that trust you may be kind, but cannot be unjust. Each of whose favours will delight him more than all the laurels that his temples wore. Yet if his name and his misfortunes fail, he thinks my intercession will prevail. And whilst my numbers would relate his end, not like a judge you'll listen, but a friend. For how can either of us fear your frown, since he and I are both so much your own? But when you wonder at my bold design, remember who did that high task enjoin. The illustrious Orrery, whose least command you would more wonder if I could withstand. Of him I cannot, which is hardest tell, or not to praise him, or to praise him well. Who on that height from whence true glory came, does there possess and thence distribute fame. Where all their lyres the willing Muses bring, to learn of him whatever they shall sing. Since all must yield, whilst there are books or men, the universal empire to his pen. Oh, had that powerful genius but inspired the feeble hand whose service he required, it had your justice then, not mercy prayed, had pleased you more, and better him obeyed. End of Part 10.